Hello. So, I woke up this morning, the morning after the presidential selection, feeling a message coming through very clearly. At the very least, the aphorism of the message is somewhat clear, and that is that you and I really need to prioritize and cultivate self-reliance. In face of a world whose systems are dead, dying, crumbling, withering away, and in that death and dying, chaotic. So I'm not someone who is emotionally invested in the siphoning machine that is called, colloquially, politics. Two sides of the same big Z, capital Z word, coin, if you catch my drift. The state of Israel was going to win the election regardless of who was selected. And within the spectrum of polarity, within this dance of polarity and the dichotomous divisiveness that is imposed upon humanity through mind control tactics, like there's a crux point here. Like the chaos that has been within the collective consciousness for the past few decades, but especially the past decade, it's like, regardless of who was selected, chaos was bound to ensue and amplify. And in that chaos is the crumbling of systems which are often stable, or at least provide the illusion of stability, such as currency systems, such as supply chain systems, such as human interaction systems, and whatever, like, so-called peace and comfort systems that are in place in society. As chaos amplifies, a lot of these things get shaken up. And given that I am a being of deep feeling, and in spite of my lack of emotional enmeshment with the circus show of politics, I nevertheless felt from afar how there are billions of human beings who are so deeply emotionally invested in this circus, and who genuinely believe that something has changed, that they need to enter fight or flight on one end of the political spectrum, and on the other end to enter like this ecstatic, oh, we're all saved, the savior is here. Like, dude, both sides of the spectrum are being completely siphoned of their soulful, passion, heartful energy, and they are feeding a false timeline with that energy. But I digress, because that's not necessarily what I want to get into, unless it is. But there's no false timeline here. There's no no politics here in the forest, by the ocean. There's just birds singing, and breath, and peace. and natural law. And quails. Okay, I digress. The point is, as a deeply feeling being, I just felt like, okay, there's some energies moving in the collective right now. A lot of people are shaken up in whatever ways they might be. And how I felt that in the pillar of my being, in my sovereign essence, is like, oh yeah, more chaos about to ensue. And the need, the antidote to such chaos, the way to protect oneself against the ripples of such chaos, is to cultivate self-reliance. And self-reliance is within the heart, and the soul is within the heart. So what does that look like? What that first looks like is a dedication and devotion to your spiritual practice. If you are going about your days without intentional inner work, you're leaving yourself susceptible to enmeshment within the chaotic energies of the world. So that is step number one. The step number two, which might naturally flow from step number one, is to let the ripples of that spiritual practice become the cornerstone of your being. I'm trying to find the words for what I'm trying to say because it's quite an expansive thought and feeling. Yeah. If you are able, when you are able, because you have to be able, to cultivate that spirit sovereignty within yourself, within your heart, and you cultivate that light within yourself, it creates something akin to a force field that will be making you immune to some of the chaos that's going to ensue. You can walk through reality, and maybe you're in a situation where you're working a 9 to 5 and no, that's gotta go. You gotta let that go. Like, it's gonna get shaken up, and it's that false security in however long is going to go away. And so we're still on step number 2, and step number 3 will be severing yourself from the systems that are actually illusory and crumbling. Step 2 is to so deeply cultivate your spiritual practice that your aura begins to emanate a field of protection around you against anti-resonance mechanisms and people who might be emotionally and soul reality creating, like, enmeshed. Their soul reality generating principles are enmeshed with the false timelines, and so, like, therefore they're projecting that out of their fields. And if you are rooted in your sovereign spiritual practice, then your force field of pure divine light energy, like, makes you immune from those ripples, and they're going to try to, like, cast them onto you, but you just have to be like, no. It's like Obi-Wan from the Force, who says, like, you will let us enter, and then, yes, you may enter, or whatever the hell he says. So activate your pillar of sovereignty within your heart, cultivate that practice, and use the power of your will and discipline to really commit yourself to these things. You know which behaviors are the ones which bring your soul to life and which really make you feel truly alive. And all you need to do is choose some time, dedicate some time to doing those practices every single day. So much so that they become the pillar of your being, the cornerstone of your existence. and the energetics naturally follow. You are just flowing fluidly into that sovereign form of being. And while you are repelling the false energies of the dying system, you are simultaneously energetically attracting those who are on that same path of cultivating sovereignty and spiritual freedom within themselves. The energetics are unlike magnetism, which is like attracts unlike. Although that still is the case, you will likely be targeted by those who are going to try to come stir up your light, to shake you up, but you have to stay strong in your pillar. But when you're operating on the frequency of your sovereignty, then you will be attracting people who are also on that frequency. And that, in face of the dying systems of currency, which are pretty quickly now going to be crumbling and then looking for new systems to replace them. And obviously the false controllers are going to try to impose their false systems of control even more deeply and inaugurate different forms of currency that are going to supplant them. But is that a beautiful mushroom or a rock? It is a rock. There is a truer currency which transcends all of the false currencies which they try to impose upon us, which is the currency of this magnetic frequency of your heart and your sovereignty. The field of reality will respond to the energetic inner work that you do, such that synchronicities will become the paths which open up to you as you faithfully walk into the mystery and allow yourself to be guided by your own inner light and your own inner heart, which will resonate with those whose inner lights and inner hearts are also their guides. It's like, if we're going to envision all of the chaos, all of the death, all of the destruction as this darkness enveloping the world, the heart and the soul are the lanterns and the pillars of light. And then you don't see it with your eyes, but you feel it within yourself. When you feel that there is light here, you will feel at home, you will feel warm, you will feel at peace. And you will feel like you're around soulkin. And that is the current C of energy, which is the true currency of the earth, which is the currency of the heart. To where all of the false currency of crypto, which they're going to bring in, like that, is essentially nullified by the currency of the heart of truth. If you walk the path of the heart, then you are immune from all of the falsity which they try to impose upon you, especially if you do not consent to it and you do not enmesh yourself energetically with it in ways of like needing it for survival and like believing in any stories or impositions of injections that need to enter your bloodstream in order to have access to whatever societal measures they try to impose, or whatever wars of physicality and consciousness that they try to enmesh you in, so to speak. And the third thing, which is kind of a flowing from that, is, severing yourself as much as possible materially from the dying systems themselves. If you have been working a 9-to-5 for a long time and hating every minute of it, and feeling within your heart a call, a need to be like, I gotta get the fuck out of this. I want to fucking move to Italy and live on a horse farm or something like that. I don't know what it could be. Inspired by a dear soul friend who has done that. You need to listen to your heart, follow your heart, and trust that God and Goddess will take care of you every step of the way. And you need to renounce all of the stories that tell you, like, I just met a guy who was selling jade at Big Sur Jade Fest. And he has this beautiful table of all of these magnificent magical stones. And he's like, yeah, I've also got a government job, and I got 8 more years until I can retire, and I can't quit that job because otherwise I've worked that job for too long, all for nothing, and I'll lose the retirement. And I was like, my brother in Christ, the government's probably not going to exist in 8 years. Like, I don't know what the fuck that money's going to do, what it's going to be, but it's not going to be real. This right here, this jade, this is real. And your passion, that is real. You got to let go of the stories that's like, well, no, I really got to get the retirement. I really got to stick around for 8 more years of torture. I need to do X in order to do Y. The world does not function like that anymore. The world has never functioned like that until we convinced ourselves through weird fucking energetics of self-deceit on a micro and macrocosmic self-enchaining level. Transcendental freedom and sovereign essence in accordance with divine natural law has always been the true baseline. And flowers coming into bloom, and fruits coming in abundance, and food being provided boundlessly by the earth has always been the law. It's not until very recently that we decided to fuck ourselves over, or to somehow consent to deceitful beings fucking us over. Whatever it was. The point is, if you find yourself in a situation with your job, with your life, where you feel miserable, where you feel like you are not in the place that you're supposed to be, where you feel like it's constricting the capacity of your soul as opposed to expanding it, then you need to take steps rooted in your spiritual practice, rooted in the spiritual practice becoming your cornerstone of your existence and your being, and the magnetic amplification of the true currency of your heart in the earth. Renounce the things that make you miserable and begin to pursue with more depth and more passion and more vivacious volition those things that make your soul feel alive. And the more you allow yourself to do that, and you use your will to, with discipline, face the patterns that try to keep you within the comfortable places of like, oh, well, the 9 to 5, it pays the bills and it's an illusory sense of security, so I'm going to stay right there. Like, listen to the stories that even though you feel miserable, you allow yourself to tolerate the things that make you feel like shit. Find within your body, within yourself, the places in which you consent to such things within yourself. And that may take on the form of shadows. It may take on the form of scarcity patterns. It may take on the form of pain. It'll take on whatever form it needs to for your body and your soul to communicate to you that which you need to feel in order to finally let it go. And once you make the choice to maybe even, like, it's still there, the stories, they're still there, the scripts, they're still there, the pains, they're still there, the doubts, they're still there, but with the transcendental power of your free will and your faith in God and Goddess to take care of you, and your faith in your heart to guide the way, you can begin taking the leaps and the steps towards the actualization of your sovereignty and the renunciation of the places that siphon your sovereignty from you and that drain you and make you feel miserable. Renounce those, step into your sovereignty, and trust that you will be taken care of. And especially, my goodness, I'm just going on. especially in times of great apparent chaos within the collective, when the material interconnected causal networks of human interaction will be shaken up, and apparent patterns of scarcity will manifest themselves more deeply, and people might be going and buying all the toilet paper, for example, which is so fucking stupid. Like when shit like that might start happening, because eventually, like, it probably will, like, those are the times that are most fruitful for taking the leap and to be like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm out, I'm leaving this this version of me behind that is miserable, and I'm shedding that skin in order to become the version of myself that thrives upon the footsteps of its own soul, breathed into being by way of faith within the discipline, spiritual practice of the heart, aligned with divinity and sovereignty and freedom and truth and love. So I believe that's it. Like, because what it comes down to is that is the absolute form of self-reliance. And when we together form nodal networks and collectives of individuals who are rooted within that self-sovereign essence and self-reliant essence, then we build self-reliant and self-resilient networks of being that are immune from the falsity of the world. And they can come and try to manipulate us and intimidate us and coerce us into obedience. But the spirit of freedom and the spirit of divinity and the spirit of humanity cannot be coerced except with consent. And we do not consent to the falsity and falsification of the world. We consent to truth and to God, to divinity and freedom and truth and love and healing and more freedom and life. So yeah, that's a really beautiful tree over there. I think that's going to be it, because it's gotten dark, but the light of our souls shine resplendently and will never allow the darkness of false impositions of false life to win. Stay self-reliant, stay grounded in your spiritual practice, love yourself, love others, love, freedom, divinity, and truth will always be the answers. Thank you, bless you, and I love you. Bye-bye.